Imagine driving home late at night and spotting something on the side of the road. At first, you think it might just be a shadow. But then you look closer, and your heart drops. A tiny dog, barely able to stand, her bones pressing through her skin, her eyes dim but still watching you. And just as you're about to process what you're seeing, her tail gives one small, slow wag. Not a happy wag. A hopeful one, like she was apologizing for still being alive. That's the moment that stopped Claudio Cosimano in his tracks one night in Argentina. Claudio is an animal welfare activist, someone who has dedicated his life to showing up for animals that the world has turned its back on. But even for him, what he found that night was something he wasn't prepared for. The little dog was alone on the street, severely malnourished, with her ribs and spine clearly visible beneath her coat. She looked like she had been surviving on nothing for weeks, maybe longer. Her body was exhausted in a way that went far beyond hunger. It was the kind of exhaustion that comes from being invisible for too long, from waiting, and waiting for someone to notice you, and having no one ever stop. But Claudio stopped. And what happened next, in that quiet moment on a street in Argentina, is what makes this story impossible to forget. Despite everything that little dog had clearly been through, despite the hunger, the cold, the fear, and the abandonment, she found the strength to wag her tail. Slowly. Barely, but deliberately. Claudio later described that moment in words that moved people across the world. He said she wagged her tail with the last strength she had left, in case someone in this world would look at her. In silence, as if she were apologizing for existing. Read that again. Apologizing for existing. That is what neglect does to a living creature. It teaches them that their presence is a burden. And yet, even after all of that, this little dog still believed that maybe, just maybe, this time someone would stay. That instinct, that unbreakable trust that dogs seem to carry even after being failed by humans, is one of the most remarkable things about this species. Scientists and animal behaviorists have long studied the deep bond between dogs and people, a relationship that goes back over 15,000 years. Dogs were not just domesticated, they evolved alongside us. They learned to read our faces, our emotions, our intentions. And in return, many of them offer a loyalty and forgiveness that most humans would struggle to match. The dog Claudio found that night would soon have a name worthy of her quiet strength. He called her Naomi. Naomi's exact breed is unknown. She appears to be a medium-sized mixed breed, the kind of dog you might see in shelters across the American South or in rural communities throughout Latin America. These dogs are often incredibly resilient, street-smart, and adaptable. But resilience has its limits. Severe malnutrition like Naomi's doesn't just affect weight. It damages organs, weakens the immune system, causes muscle loss, and can have lasting effects on the nervous system. In cases like hers, every single hour matters. Claudio didn't wait. He picked her up, put her on his motorcycle, and brought her home. No hesitation. No second-guessing. Just a decision, made in seconds, that would change both of their lives forever. If this story is already getting to you, just wait, because the transformation that comes next is something else entirely. And if you want to see more real stories like this one every week, this is the moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Subscribe to the channel and keep following real news and real stories. Back home, the real work began. Nursing a dog back from severe malnourishment is not as simple as filling a bowl with food. Veterinarians are clear that refeeding a starving animal too quickly can actually be dangerous, even fatal. The body has to be gradually reintroduced to nutrition with small, frequent meals, careful monitoring, and often treatment for internal and external parasites that thrive when an immune system is compromised. It takes patience, consistency, and a lot of love. Claudio gave Naomi all of it. The early days were quiet. Naomi moved carefully, cautiously, the way any creature does when it is still deciding whether it is safe to hope. She ate. she rested. She watched Claudio with those eyes that had seen too much, slowly learning that this place was different. That this person was different. That she didn't have to earn her place here or apologize for taking up space. And then, gradually, something shifted. The ribs that had been so painfully visible began to disappear beneath healthy muscle, and a coat that started to shine. The eyes that had been hollow began to hold light again. And one day, Naomi ran. Not because she was scared, because she was happy. The video Claudio shared shows the full arc of her transformation, and it is breathtaking. In the early footage, Naomi looks like a different dog entirely, frail and still. But in the later clips, she is bounding across the ground, playing, trotting alongside Claudio on walks through the same streets where she once went unseen. The contrast is the kind that makes you stop scrolling and just feel something. Claudio's caption captured everything in just a few lines. He wrote that together they were inseparable, that together they healed what others had broken, that love defeated the darkness. And he ended with something that reads almost like a challenge to every person who has ever looked away. Never be indifferent to the suffering of another living being. The response was overwhelming. The video surpassed 252,000 likes and drew thousands of comments from people who felt the weight of Naomi's story in their bones. One person wrote that it was a blessed day when the two of them found each other. Another said that life had rewarded Naomi for her pain by bringing her to the one person who was meant to love her forever. A third simply thanked Claudio, not just for saving her life, but for continuing to care for her every single day after. Stories like Naomi's are more common than most people realize, and that is both heartbreaking and hopeful. Across the United States, millions of dogs enter shelters every year. Countless others never make it that far, living and dying on the streets without anyone ever learning their names. The difference between those stories and Naomi's story is a single moment of attention. A person who didn't look away, a motorcycle that stopped. You don't have to be an activist to make that kind of difference. Sometimes it's calling a local rescue when you spot a dog in trouble. Sometimes it's fostering or donating, or simply sharing a story so that more people understand what is at stake. Every single action counts, even the smallest ones. Naomi today lives in a home where she is loved without condition. She doesn't have to wag her tail to earn her keep. She doesn't have to apologize for existing. She has a name, a bed, a full bowl, and a person who stopped for her on a dark night when no one else did. And somewhere out there, right now, there is another dog doing exactly what Naomi was doing that night. Waiting. Hoping, giving everything they have left for one small chance that someone will stop. If Naomi's story moved you, drop a comment below and tell us, have you ever rescued an animal? Or has an animal ever rescued you?